So in the last few movies, we've been discussing the difference between the system families and the so-called non-system families, component families, loadable families. They've had a lot of different terms. From now on in the training series, we're going to refer to anything that we can manipulate in the family editor simply as a family, just to make it a little bit easier. In this movie, I would like to focus on two major classifications between the so-called component or loadable, or as we just said, families that we can modify in the family editor. And that would be the model families from the view-specific or annotation families. Now, this diagram that I have on screen sort of encapsulates all the different kinds of elements that are available in a Revit project. And some of these are strictly in the project environment, some are in the family environment, but it does a pretty good job of summarizing at a high level how everything fits in. On the model side of the branch, we can see that it branches into two subcategories of host elements and component elements. Now, host elements is really just another name for system families, and so those aren't the ones we're going to be talking about. You can see from the diagram it's the walls, the floors, the roofs. The component families is the loadable families, or the ones in the family editor that we're going to be talking about, and those are our model elements that we can put our hands on, that we can touch, that are part of the building. So if I clarify, both host and component elements are real things that you can touch and represent actual objects in the project that represent real things, but it's only the component side that are the ones that we can actually manipulate in the family editor. So for the coming chapters, those are the ones that we'll be looking at. We'll be building furniture examples. We'll look at some door examples. We have a few different types of families that we're going to focus on the component side. But they all represent real things in your project, actual objects that either get installed in place or built in place. On the annotation or view-specific side, we're talking about descriptive items that get added on top of the view that are not real things. You don't actually build them, but they describe your design intent. They describe what the drawing is showing in further detail and make it easier for the end user of that drawing to understand what they're looking at. Those include symbols, tags, text, or dimensions. Now, text and dimensions are actually system families, so we won't be manipulating those in the family editor. But tags or symbols are things that we can manipulate in the family editor, and those will be among the first examples that we look at together in the family editor in the next chapter. Detail components are also on this side of the branch, and so those are also view-specific items that can be manipulated in the family editor as well. Now, I haven't really highlighted the middle part of this diagram because, for the most part, those items are not families that we can manipulate. They are important and they are in our software, and we manipulate and work with those in our projects all the time, but they're not things that we'll be discussing in terms of the family editor. However, reference planes on the datum element branch are going to be very important, and so when we get to our model families, we'll talk about that a little bit more. As we can see in this diagram, there are many different kinds of families, but only certain ones really concern us when we're talking about the family editor. And for the most part, they break into these two overall classifications of model versus annotation or view-specific families, and that will really be the focus of the majority of this training series, with the larger focus being on the model families and a small focus on the annotation families.